Hey gang, thanks for joining us for Get Help Hangouts, where we're going to try and show you as new trainers some new tips, some new tricks. We're also going to introduce you to some maybe some new tools you may not have been used to or have used in the past. My name's Trevor Beck. I'm one of the hosts for the Get Help Hangouts along with Alison Mollica, and we'll be doing introductions in a second here. And just wanted to point out that down on the lower third there, I've got the URL for questions. So if you have any questions, please, by all means, type them in. We'll try and incorporate them in the show later on. And we're going to start off, and Alison, we'll get you to introduce yourselves, and then we'll work our way across, and our special guests will be able to tell us a bit about themselves.
Best for last. My name is Alison Mollica, and I am lucky enough to make a living being a Google certified trainer. And I have been in education for about 20 years. Technology and education has always been my forte. I fell in love with Google when I was able to take the first district to the Google Apps for Education suite and identified how many challenges and obstacles disappeared just upon having Google. And I think it's very empowering, and I think the path to truly appreciating and benefiting from the Google Apps for Education is sharing with others and making sure teachers know how to put those good tools to use.
Wonderful. Andrew, your turn, please.
Yeah, so some of you may know my work rather than me. If you've used any of the add-ons that bear the New Visions for Public School brand, pretty much all of those I wrote over the last 3 or 4 years while I was serving as the Director of Systems Development there. So that was New Visions is a big nonprofit in New York that serves over 200 high schools. And as part of that work, we deployed Google Apps in all of those schools, and we're used for all kinds of very ambitious use cases, everything from front office automations to better data access for teachers to help drive school improvement. So my background has been really centered from the classroom originally. I was 10 years in, and then as a science teacher, made my way into administration, 4 years as an assistant principal, and then 5 years at New Visions as a kind of a program and innovations manager. And then as part of that work, spent my evenings learning and kind of transform my job description into a software developer. So I guess I'm a rare unicorn in that I made my from the classroom into what I am now, which is a chief product officer at a reasonably well-known Google Apps specialist company called Amplified IT. So if you've ever been to an EdTech Team Summit or heard of Amplified IT, we're a Google Apps support company, and as of February, we're now a products company. So we're actually creating tools and utilities, and that's why I'm here today to share a bit about that new body of work. So very excited about that. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you for being on, because this is very exciting for us. And Steven.
Hi everyone, Steven Butschi. I manage part of our education team at Google, based in New York, and joined today so I could go over a few of the new tools that we've released to hopefully make back to school a little bit sweeter.
Excellent, thank you. So anyone that's watching, the URL down at the bottom here, if you would like to ask any questions, by all means, please go ahead and do that. Enter your questions in, and we'll take time during the show to make sure we answer them. I just want to do a quick screen share to show you some handy tips here. When you're on this, or when you're viewing this, if you want to have the big screen view, just go ahead and click on that YouTube link. Especially if you're watching this in an archive, you can check that out. And of course, on the event page, we're still going to have the place where you guys can be putting in your comments. This is probably the last broadcast that we do using the Google Event Hangout on Air tool. So some of the things that you may have read that we're moving over to just strictly launching in YouTube. I don't know if Steven could tell us if there's anything new coming down the pipe about that, but this will be one of the last ones we do in the traditional method. As well as, if you have any questions, as I mentioned at the top there, goo.gl/slides/23245W. That's where we'll be doing all of that on. So let's start then with, my mouse over here working. Let's start off then with Steven. Steven's going to talk to us about some of the new products that are coming out from Google, some of the tricks, or sorry, some of the new tools, and just get us excited about it, Steven.
Excellent. I will go through just a few of the top features that we released on August 17th in time for back to school. So can you see my screen okay? I'll present it full view.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So in Classroom, which we launched in 2014, so a little over 2 years ago, we've been collecting democratically all of the features that people want to see. And one of the top features that we've heard over the past couple of years is some ways to engage parents better. And so we've recently launched now Guardian notifications, so you can actually have parents stay informed on the work that's in the student's portfolio, what is either missing, what's due next week, etc. And they'll get a weekly summary for their students. They can do it for multiple students. So that is now available. We encourage you to check it out. There's also stream organization. So a common request that we had seen from teachers was being able to move around the stream. With this, it's kind of like labels, but it's where you can attach a topic to one of your posts, and that way then students can then click on the topic. For example, if this is a math class, maybe you want them to be able to click on logic is one sub area that you're working on. The third, which is also great, is annotation. So you've heard a lot of people saying, you know, I'm a teacher, I have a tablet, I want to be able to annotate, you know, get out a little stylus and start to make notes on students' work using that stylus. So this will allow you to do that on Android and iOS, where you can go and annotate people's work. It then resaves as a PDF, those annotations that you can then send back to the student with all of your notes. So those are a few of the big classroom pieces that we've recently launched. Also, Cast for Education, which we announced at ISTE, is now out of beta and ready to go. It's a free wireless way to project for students, particularly in the classroom. If you had 30 students with their Chromebooks and only your teacher's computer was connected to a projector, it used to be a little bit difficult to figure out how to project maybe one of the students' screens. So now this is the ability to cast both audio and video, where they essentially knock using this Cast for Education, and the teacher can accept it and then allow them to present through the teacher's screen, but it's actually presenting their own device. The teachers can also invite students, that way that students are just going rogue and taking over projectors. It's also really nice to integrate with Google Classroom, and you don't need new hardware. Another piece I'd point out, and you'll probably see in this GIF that's animated on the right-hand side, is in Forms we've added a few things. Notably, one is images, so you can now add images into both the form questions and the answers. So let's say you have a question, you want someone to identify a certain country, you can now do that. And this is also within Forms, the quizzes in Forms. You can quickly create and deliver and grade assignments or assessments. It has the auto-grading piece. So this we expect to be very popular, and people, one common request was being able to disable the send a copy of my response piece. And so now, particularly if you're giving a quiz, you don't want someone to just forward that on to the next student who's taking the quiz. So a common request from education that's now available. Additionally, on Chromebooks, we've been working with some of the third-party apps, notably Explain Everything, Soundtrap, and WeVideo, that we've now secured some special pricing that you can get when you purchase them as a bundle. And the idea is that these are really great creation tools that can work across multiple subjects to get the most bang for your buck. And we wanted to make sure that you could get a discount on top of that as well. So speak with your reseller, whoever you purchase Chromebooks from, and you can likely get some discounts on those when you purchase them together. The last, or one of the last things, is Inbox for EDU. This is now available for the education domain. It wasn't before. So if you like Gmail and you want to try another way of interacting with it, Inbox is a great app, or you can also access it via the web, and you can use Inbox for EDU. It includes reminders and things like that, promos. It buckets your different email into groups to make it more accessible and also easier to go through. The other thing I was going to mention too is just this Science Journal app. It was created by Google's Making and Science team, and you can, what's really nice is it's a mobile first, so you can turn it into like a miniature science lab essentially, and use the abilities, the hardware to in your phone to measure light, sound, etc. So that's a great one. And the last one is Android add-ons for docs and sheets. So especially as we see students more mobile, doing things on their mobile phones and smartphones, we wanted to make sure that they could get even more features using Google Docs. So for example, you can see here the integration with EasyBib on your Android device, where you can start to annotate and add bibliographies to Google Doc on your smartphone. So I will pass it back and happy to answer any questions on any of those. So I'll pass it back to you, Trevor.
Okay, so we do have some questions here. Can you guys still see my screen? You're all muted, so I know.
Yes, I can
Okay.
see your screen.
All right, Steven, because you're going to be answering most of the parent announcements. What about comments and feedbacks from teachers? I'm assuming that's about Classroom.
Yeah, I think it is too. So the announcements, it is through the weekly summary, and it's mostly around work is what they're going to see. So let me look into exactly what they're seeing in terms of the announcements. But we did have one of the interesting philosophical pieces of designing this was in interviewing teachers, understanding whether or not they wanted parents to have full access essentially to Classroom, or whether they wanted them to just get a digest. And overwhelmingly, the response that we got from teachers was this idea of a digest approach. They didn't actually want parents going in and commenting on the streams, etc. So that's the broader philosophical approach to this launch, is giving them the ability to see what's kind of going on from a digest perspective. So looking notably around work, what work is late, what work has been turned in, what's coming up. But I will go while Andrew's chatting, I'll go and get specifics on that piece too.
Excellent, thank you. The other question, or one other question, how does CAST work with Hangouts?
So what's interesting is you used to have to, with CAST for Education, is you'd have to download this extension. Now in Chrome, I think version 52, it's automatically enabled, so you don't have to download any sort of extra extension, etc., on a Chromebook in order to use CAST for Education. So if you think about CAST for Education, it's kind of similar to a Hangout in the sense that you can share your screen and share video, etc., but it's not a full-on Hangout like this. Instead, it's more so think of the screen sharing element of Hangouts is what it's using, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you know, the one question here: does the admin have to install CAST? I think you said it right off the bat that it's part of the browser now after version 52.
Correct. So you used to have to download it as an extension when it was in beta, and now it's automatically ready to go. And I believe it's 52 or later.
Can you invite Gmail to CAST, or invite users to CAST through Gmail? I guess is the question.
A good question. I don't know the answer. Andrew, actually, do you know the answer? I'm feeling like Andrew might know this based on all the tools they're building. If Andrew, you know, say it during your next presentation, but I am not sure. I can double check.
I think initially
sure
the CAST for Education requires you to be in an EDU domain, but I have actually seen CAST in my Gmail Chrome browser, so there might be two different apps. That's what. But at the ISTE show when they launched it, they said, yeah, you need to be in the domain. Like Classroom, you need to be in the domain. But that could have changed since then.
Yeah. I can double check. That's a good question.
Next question: when is shuffling becoming available in Classroom? I need to manually reorder assignments.
So that's why we created the topic piece, was be able to go in and find certain posts and attach them to a specific topic, so it'd be easier to find that. If that doesn't answer your use case, I would recommend filing in the bottom left of Classroom is a question mark you'll see on the screen, and then if you click that, you can submit feedback. And so we actually every week take all that feedback, aggregate it, and figure out what are the most common requests that we're getting, and then develop the roadmap based on that. So please do submit feedback, have others submit feedback if they're also experiencing that, and let us know the use case of why that's important, or how, for example, using topics isn't accomplishing what you need, because that's really important.
Wonderful, thank you. Allison or Andrew, do you guys have any questions for Steven?
I do, actually. Steven, not to put you on the spot, so if the answer is there's no information about that right now, that is fine. But a number of trainers are asking, and early adopters of sites, when might that product, take shape in terms of being a public new, takeover? Is there any public information about, the projection of when new sites will be available to everyone?
Yeah, so we're working on some extra pieces and functionality because it doesn't have all the functionality of classic sites right now. And before we make everyone move over to new sites, which I've been using a lot and I love, we want to make sure that the most important functionality is there for them. So I believe what we're working on right now is making sure we can keep classic sites around for at least this school year. We don't want to have a big change for you in the middle of the school year to say, oh, by the way, as of November, I have to move all of your sites to new Google Sites. But instead, we do have an early access program, which some schools, if they do want to be part of that, they can apply, and it's on our blog post, where they can apply to be part of an early access program where they'll have access to new Google Sites as well as still be able to keep their existing Google Classic sites. So new sites, Classic sites should be here for at least this school year, and we'll make sure as we build new sites that we're incorporating those features and functionalities that everyone needs, as well as making sure there's a migration path from Classic sites to new sites.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Does that help?
Stephen. Yes, it does.
Okay,
Most recently, I've had some schools indicate that they went to sign up for the beta access, and that program has told them that it's now closed. Has that reopened?
It may not have been reopened yet. I do know that they like to stagger, so they get that way they can get feedback, build a little bit more, open it up more, get more feedback, stop, build, open it up a little bit more. So continue to check back because they might be in that process of staggering the let-in so they can build the right features.
That is really good information. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and my university too, we're kind of straggling between the old and new, so that was kind of good to listen to. It was really interesting listening to you talk about classic sites and new sites because it sounded like the old Coke thing again, classic Coke and new Coke. So
yeah. Exactly. No, new sites is definitely one of the advantages that I've had in playing around with it is that it's so, especially as we talk about mobile, and you saw a lot of launches on Classroom, on annotations, etc. on mobile. Is classic sites is not always the most mobile friendly if you're looking at a site on your mobile phone, and that's what's beautiful about the new sites is that it adapts to the form factor that you're using. So it looks great on mobile, it looks great on web, it looks great on a tablet, and it optimizes for that each form factor. So it makes it a lot easier.
Are we, I know you kind of alluded to this, but are we able to say with confidence, or are you able to say with confidence that there will be some form of widgets coming over again?
I don't know all the specific, I mean, we're working through what are the top features that we need in order to make sure that new sites is the end-all be-all that people need. I don't know at a specific feature by feature what will be what they're prioritizing, but I do know it's part of a broader push to make sure that when eventually people move on to new Google sites that they have the most important features.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for your input there.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk to Andrew Stillman. As Andrew mentioned before, he's working with, or he used to work with New Visions. You may not be familiar with New Visions, but if you're doing any power stuff with sheets and forms, you are going to know Form Ranger, formMule, Autocrat, Doctopus. So those are the things that Andrew's been responsible for, and now, as he mentioned, he's moving over to a new organization, and they're going to be coming out with some new tools. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Trevor. Can you guys hear me all right? Great.
Yeah.
So so I joined Amplified IT in February, and as I mentioned, they're like Google Apps, like K-12 focused Google Apps service company. So we do a bunch of variety of different services, including support hours that you can buy above and beyond Google's support, and then something called a domain audit. So we're kind of specialized in helping districts get the most value out of the Google Apps platform, and so it sort of made sense for us to get into building some of our own utilities to help schools either get more out of the platform in the classroom, in the administrative office, but also in the IT office. So trying to help the folks who are in the IT department with some of the pain points or deployment challenges by tinkering and problem solving and building tools similar to what I was building at New Visions, but under a new model. So Amplified Labs is the name of the kind of product division of Amplified IT, and really the mission of Amplified Labs centers on a belief about school quality, how schools get better, how do we run high quality schools, and I'm kind of a science and logic oriented thinker, and for me, looking at a school that may not be functioning to its full potential is often a matter of analyzing their systems, looking at all the different ways in which they actually get work done, and in my experience, educators as a tribe are incredibly compassionate and relationship-oriented, but schools don't always have the most effective systems for handling things at scale. And schools have a tremendous number of things they have to keep track of. So just everything from attendance to library books to student attendance to field trip permission slips. There are just so many stacks of paper and organizational challenges within a school where a platform like Google Apps with a little bit of tinkering, as we know as trainers, can unlock tremendous potential. And so I find that to be a really compelling challenge, and that's really at the center of everything Amplified Labs is designed to do. So we're really ultimately about improving the quality of schools by building tools that improve the way schools work. So with that said, as Trevor mentioned, I've had a fairly long history building what I like to call grubby little utilities. And they really did start off pretty grubby. I like to keep expectations low when I'm just learning how to do something. So a lot of the early scripts had these wacky logos and occasionally were buggy. But all of it's been offered previously as something that was free to the community and had a community support model. And as these things matured, and particularly once Google decided to integrate a web store with them and actually have them available to the masses in this very accessible way, the usership of these tools just exploded. And a tool like Doctopus, for example, had 40,000 monthly active users before I left New Visions. And as you might imagine, the support demands and the responsibility associated with that is quite large. So I was becoming a man with no weekend, and whose children didn't know him. Trying to maintain these things in a nonprofit organization where the core priorities at New Visions were not to support the entire world using these tools. So over time, that became a challenge for me, and I started to really rethink whether these things should or could be free. And as with a lot of apps, I think I started to realize that I had peers in the space like Roman Vayard, who built yet another mail merge, who were experimenting with a paid model, giving users a certain amount for free, but then having a kind of a premium version that allowed the tool to be financially sustainable. And so that really appealed to me, and through a number of conversations with Amplified IT, we identified that there was a business opportunity here that we thought was going to be good for everyone, because, as I said, I started to conclude that the model that I pursued at New Visions was not going to be sustainable at scale. So that said, New Visions does continue to provide some support for the tools that I wrote. I don't own them, just to be clear. I was working at New Visions. Granted, I was doing a lot of this stuff in my own time, but at the end of the day, they're pretty attached to them. So they do continue to exist, and to some extent, I think you can continue to rely on them. That said, we're at Amplified IT coming out with a bunch of tools we intend to support through the financial earnings that they bring in. So we've started with a lineup. Right now we have 4 tools that are in public release, and then a number that are coming very, very soon. So I'm actually going to jump out of this deck into our website, and it's labs.amplifiedit.com/tools. And I'll just sort of go through the different tools that are public real quick. GroupGator is a tool that tries to allow districts to get more use out of Google Groups. So our discovery in a lot of districts is that the groups are controlled by IT admins. That creates a little bit of a bottleneck. And so some of the more ambitious things that you might want to do with Google Groups, like department teams or student clubs or sports team groups, we found a lot of districts don't fully utilize groups for those kinds of use cases, and usually the reason is that they're a little too difficult to manage through the Google Groups for Business interface. There's too many security risks, they're hard to delegate, and then that interface itself is somewhat challenging for some more low-level users in the district. So what GroupGator does is through an administrative interface that you see here, the admin delegates groups. An email goes out notifying the group manager, and then the group manager has a little sidebar in Sheets where they can manage all the groups they've been assigned right from Google Sheet. So you're getting the ease and simplicity of Sheets. Often the person who would be responsible for this is some office. So in a district where you have multiple schools, it might be an administrative assistant who is keeping all of the different team groups up to date. And this way the IT department can actually delegate that responsibility down to that person. What's nice about it is that that person doesn't have the ability to change any settings on the groups. So it's a more constrained role, and from there, more secure. And then lastly, they don't actually belong that they manage, which is a nice feature, because it means that they're not going to be bombarded with 1,000 emails from all the different groups that they manage. So GroupGator is an attempt to kind of rethink the way group management delegates. And this is a tool where you can get it for free. The free version lets you delegate and manage up to 5 domain groups. So for a small school, that might be enough to get started, and you can have plenty of runway to see if you like it. A lot of the schools that are adopting it are really telling us that the model makes sense, works for their office staff, and it has a fairly affordable pricing model starting at $320 a year. So that's the range we're talking about, which at a per pupil level is a very small buy. So. The next tool is going to be very close to home for folks who use either formMule or Autocrat. So the idea is, if you use those tools, you understand what a merge is. A merge is an idea of taking one row of data in a spreadsheet and turning it into something, populating something. So Eventomatic is a merge that populates calendar events in Google Calendar from Sheets. Why would you want to do such a thing? Well, there's a ton of different use cases, but one of the most, I think, compelling for schools is schools typically have to manage a lot of public shared spaces. And whether it's a swimming pool or a gymnasium or an auditorium, and resource calendars can only get you so far. And often you need a really clear form for people to fill out, where you're asking them to tell you a bunch of things about what they're intending to use the space for. So Eventomatic can be hooked up to Google Forms, and it can actually have conditions set that allow you to actually set up an approval form. So someone in an office can actually get notification before that event gets put on a calendar, and then you'll see in this picture there's a condition set that says only create the event once it's been approved. So I think that's a really compelling use. I've heard of schools that have chosen to buy this, that was the main reason they bought it. The other one is for bulk event creation. So whether it's sports team meetups or district event calendar, sometimes you have a ton of events in a spreadsheet, and wouldn't it be nice to be able to crank out 150 events without having to do it manually in calendar? So as I said, it can do a bulk merge of events, or it can do a merge off of form submissions. So that one also can be adopted for free. I think you can create up to 25 events a day in the free version. So again, trying to give plenty of runway for folks to get to know the tool and decide if it's actually worth paying for.
Andrew,
I'm cruising here. Do you want to interrupt me? Please do.
I'm going to interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
I just got a note. Someone saying that the YouTube page isn't working very well. So hopefully they're saying the video is not coming through on the YouTube page. So hopefully those of you that are out can still do the the event page, looking for your events. I just wanted to, again, for those that want to ask questions, let me just share it here. So can you see the screen? Yes, you can. So if you want to ask a question, goo.gl/slides/23245W. Someone mentioned from the YouTube side, if you try and do any of those links, it's doing all sorts of weird stuff. But again, the link is goo.gl/slides23245. Okay, and then I'm going to let you get back to it. Oh, actually, you know what? I didn't share my screen, so people couldn't see that. How's that? So there we are, goo.gl/slides/23245W. I'll give you guys a second to look at that. And we'll go back to Andrew. Does anyone have any questions so far for Andrew before we move along? Okay, then Andrew, we're going to let you continue.
Great, and please cut me off if I'm exceeding my allotment, because I am my passion exceeds my self-control. The next one I wanted to talk about here is a tool called Local Hero. And this one was based on solving the problem of having data locked up in your student information system that you either can't make useful to people because of the way your student information system works. So for example, everything I know about PowerSchool suggests that teachers typically not have to search pretty important things about students in PowerSchool, right? They would have to be set up as PowerSchool administrators. So that's an example where there's a ton of useful information, like maybe home contact information that's in the SIS, and teachers can't easily get at it. So this idea of data being siloed, being stuck in your SIS, I think is a very common problem in schools. And what Local Hero attempts to do is leverage Google to unlock that student system data. So the way it works is it's actually a local Chrome app. So it installs actually in the network environment of the school, and then it can to network drives folders on a local machine. And schools can typically set up scheduled jobs where they have student information system files delivered to that same location on a regular schedule. So once you realize you can do that, and many schools currently, when they integrate with third-party products, right, often rosters and other information is being brought down using some kind of a scheduled task. You can do the same thing with other forms of useful SIS data, and what Local Hero does is it grabs those CSV files and syncs them up to a Google spreadsheet. So what you see here is an interface where you can schedule how frequently you want Local Hero to grab those CSV files and push them up to a destination Google Sheet. So in a sense, this builds a bridge between your student information system and Google Sheets. What's nice about that is then you can do lots of other really interesting things. So if you're using Google Sites or any kind of site, there's a tool called Awesome Table, which allows you to embed the contents of a spreadsheet in a really handy searchable format. What you see here is like student home contact information embedded in this site. And as long as this spreadsheet is private, may share just and let's assume that the site, if it's at Google Sites, can also be shared with just your staff. You've now created a private data dashboard where anyone in the school can get at SIS data, and you can have a tremendous amount of control over how that SIS is being presented or curated so that people can actually get use out of it. So this is a bit of a wonky tool. It obviously, it requires you to have a vision for systems innovation or innovation around how users consume data in your district. But I think those are the kind of things that actually make you a hero if you're a tech integrator, is actually seeing the school improvement kind of goals of your district, and then finding creative ways to solve the problems that the core student information system might not. So this is a tool that again, it's a local Chrome app. And the last one that's I think a real crowd pleaser that is completely free, other than the cost of a little Arduino. So what you see here is literally like 3 centimeters by 1 centimeter. It's a tiny little device called an Arduino Micro, and this little device can have a script put on it, and by the way, it costs $9, so, and you can buy them on Amazon. We don't actually make any money off them, but we provided some open source code that you can load onto one of these that will actually do the keystroke logging for enrolling a Chromebook. So there's a great video here that one of the schools put together showing that, and here they have, I think, 5 of these little centipedes, and the amount of time saved is literally in the hundreds of hours for for let's say 500 Chromebooks. You're talking about just a massive change in the efficiency with which you can enroll them, because again, it does all the keystrokes and tabs and hard returns that are needed to step through that enrollment process when you're setting up new Chromebooks. So this one's been wildly popular, even though it's making us no money, and it's called Centipede. I could stop there. I've got 2 that are literally about to come out, so I could give a sneak preview, but I want to be respectful of the program time. So.
Oh, I appreciate that, Andrew. I can give you another 2 or 3 minutes. Can you do something real quick in that time?
Yeah, sure. So on Monday next week, Chrome Gopher coming out. Chrome Gopher is really for the IT admin who has to manage Chromebooks. The idea is it's a spreadsheets add-on, and this sidebar in the spreadsheet will allow you to export all the Chromebooks from your domain into a spreadsheet. And then you can see these 3 columns in green, or 4 columns in green, 5, sorry, can't count. These are all modifiable fields. So what this means is you can take a subset of your Chromebooks and make changes in bulk, or actually if the changes directly into the sheet. Or if you have an asset management system, like a lot of schools have a barcode scanning system, you can bring an export in from another system and actually use the spreadsheet to populate all of the information that's attached to these devices and then run a bulk upload. So the bulk update process built into this will literally sync all of the information back up to the admin panel. This is also super handy if you need to move devices. So a lot of schools will take instructional machines and move them into kiosk mode for testing, for example. And so being able to take a whole slew of devices, let's say they're in a particular cart, or they're 3 carts and you want to convert those 3 carts into kiosk mode. You could load your machines into the sheet, do a filter by just grab the ones that are in these 3 carts, and then switch their org unit to the testing org unit, right? And then suddenly you've just converted a whole slew of machines into testing mode. When you're done, do the same thing, switch them back into the correct org unit. So it's really a super convenient way to do bulk changes, and has a lot of advantages over trying to do things like that in the Chrome Management Console, just because the power of filters in Google Sheets is so great. You can really drill down on some very interesting variables. The other thing this does is it has like forensic reporting. So if you have issues of damage that you might be attributing to vandalism, you can actually search across all the devices on your domain and see when a particular user was last using them, right? Or vice versa, if you find a machine, you can figure out who the last user was on it very, very quickly this way. So this is really like a sysadmin pleaser app. And then the other one is going to be, there we go. This is in very, very limited beta right now, so we're not actually ready to take on schools publicly at this point, but we do have a private pilot going on. This is a tool that will synchronize your student information system with Google Classroom, provision all of the courses, and it has some really interesting advantages over a tool that I previously built that does this. So it's running locally, and so it can run for very, very large districts without timing out. And it also has the ability to identify courses that teachers already set up themselves. So as part of the process, it's actually making sure the school adopts this mid-semester, and they want to hook it onto all of the existing teacher courses. It'll actually find those and assist you in connecting up to any existing teacher courses. And then the advantage for those teachers is that as students come and go, as roster changes happen in the student information system, all of those roster changes happen automatically in Google Classroom. They don't have to go and actually manually invite or run the enrollment code for students. So the idea is that we're trying to take some of the setup out, and we think in particularly larger districts or districts that are trying to run like a district-wide pilot, this is a tool that's going to allow the tech admins to really push school-wide adoption and say, you know, day one, you come to a training, all of your classes are already created for you, all of your students are already enrolled. So that's the objective there, and we've got, like I said, a limited number of schools trying it out now. We're learning a lot, but promising.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andrew. That was a great rundown. Does anyone from the group have questions?
I answered some questions from earlier that I said I'd research, so I put them in the chat. I can go through them now or later, or if people just want to check in the chat.
Please do.
Okay, so there's a question on what exactly is in the email notification for the parents and the guardians. It includes missing work, upcoming work, and class activity. Guardians can't access Classroom or view the class stream. It's only those three areas that it goes into, and I linked in the chat here of more information on that. There's also a question on using CAS with Gmail. I know, Allison, you were saying that you were correct, that while you can actually get Google Class for Education, anyone can download the app, you can only share the app if you have a Google Apps for Education account. So that also answers one other thing that came up is whether CAS is available, and I just wanted to caveat it is available in 52. Students don't have to download anything, but if you are a teacher, you do want to download the CAS for Education app. You can also have administrators download it for all their teachers, so it's just ready to go for you and pushed out as a Chrome app. But teachers will want to download the CAS for Education app, and then just the CAST app, which is what the students use, that should be integrated already in 52. So I wanted to delineate that distinction. And hopefully that'll answer those three questions.
Yes, it does. And the information that Steven was talking about for Guardian email that he put in our chat, I put it in our show notes, and you should be able to get the link from the event page. I'll also make sure the link to the show notes is included in the YouTube video as well. I don't have any questions here from anyone regarding Andrew's stuff. Does anyone else from our panel have any questions from Andrew? For Andrew?
I just want to say great job. Those are really cool features. I know that people will love them.
Yeah, I can't wait to try them out.
Yeah, I started playing with the Event-O-Matic earlier in the week because we have people that were trying to do something. I went, wait a second, there's this new tool. I'm going to check this out. So exciting stuff coming in. And one of the things I like about the tools that you've put out, Andrew, it's not just a case of doing a trigger on a submission or a time, but the fact that you can say, if field received equals Y, that's when we push it out. So you put in that logic in there, which makes it really good as someone who's a control freak. Well, I can lock everything down but one column, and then an end user can go in and just put in Y or N or something like that and trigger 4 or 5 actions. So that's something I really appreciate with the tools that you've been developing.
Thanks. Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes when people look at them, the question is, why are they so complex? And then some of that is my own fault as a designer, you know, an inability to simplify complexity. But I think some of it is just that people don't appreciate how complex schools are. And you know, I think tools that are made for consumers or that are made for a small business are actually going to look different than tools that are made for schools. So you know, it's rare that you have an organization as complex as a school, actually.
Yep, good point.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So we're going to wrap things up here in a second with our finish things off here with Allison. Allison's got some information about some new announcements regarding the Certified Trainer program. So Allison, do you want to tell us a bit about that?
I do, but I first want to just show, I think that update with the mobile device with Classroom is pretty amazing, and I think you have to see it to appreciate it. So I just want to dovetail on what Steven pointed out about the update with being able to annotate docs. I work for a virtual school, and the big pushback from English teachers is that they can't write on the doc. Comments just is not good enough. So let me just show you, if you have a mobile device, I'm going to show you my phone screen, but let's see, let's do a quick share. I think it works better on actually a large screen if you have a larger mobile device. So let's see if I can get that back up. Come on. It's so simple. And see, I was waiting, so I was so engrossed with Andrew's presentation that I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Here we go. Ready. So this is my Google Classroom, and here is an assignment that was given to the student, and here you can see that that assignment's done. I'm on my mobile device. I open the assignment, and I click on Student Work. Now, all of the student work, if I had 20 students here, would be here. I'm just going to open up Cameron's writing about his summer, and you're going to see the fine print because it's my phone, and you only see a tiny piece of this. But here is now my ability as a teacher to take that writing utensil and work on the doc and annotate it and put those famous smiley faces, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how it works. It's as simple as opening up the docs on a mobile device and annotating them. Then once you save it, it saves what you've done as a separate PDF file. So when you return it with the grade and the comment to the student, they still have their original work to edit. So they have this PDF that they can't do anything with but view. Here it is, and they can open up their doc and make the changes. So I wanted to show you that because you don't have to do anything to make it work for you. What do you guys think? Isn't that amazing?
Does the PDF contain the student's original document as well as the whatever they've been writing on?
Yeah, so it shows the student's work, their doc, with whatever the teacher wrote over it, and it packages it up into a PDF.
That is slick.
Yes, and we tested it on images as well. So think of that. If they do anything in the physical world and photograph it and turn it in, teachers can annotate, draw arrows, and mark that up as well. So the potential is pretty cool.
Does the student get the same ink layer if they wanted to respond?
We tried that out, and I have a failing memory on what the end result was. So that's your homework, guys. Test it out.
Of the mind.
I don't think so, but I can't remember. So.
We don't really care what the students think.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So that's your homework. Maybe you guys can test that out while I'm showing a few other things before we go. Okay. So I won't have time to go into Classroom too quickly, but before I talk about the trainer updates, I do want to do a quick screen share of a tip for trainers, because this really is part of the Google Education Trainer Get Help Hangouts. When you're teaching Classroom and you have only a few minutes, maybe an after-school workshop, and want to get people going, I think here's my tip, is have them create a classroom and get a writing prompt going, or have them join a classroom that you create as students and just set a writing prompt assignment, because that way you can showcase the power of the sharing and the instant feedback with Google. In this case, I've created an assignment. It's called the Paperless Research, where I kind of teach about the EasyBib add-on, the research tool, all at once. You can create an assignment just by clicking on the plus sign, create assignment. You do not have to attach from Google Drive to have the same effect that I'm about to show you. The students can create a doc, and the minute they create it, it will do the same thing. So you could just say, this is a writing prompt, start writing. However, I've got something set up in advance. I've created this assignment, so I'll go to the edit view.
You want to
Things
share
I
your
want
screen?
to. Am I sharing my screen?
No.
No, I'm asking if you want to. I'm sorry. I just wanted to you're not that you,
Did
if
you
you want
see?
to share
Did you
that you
not
are.
see anything that I
Nope.
shared?
No.
Well,
Nothing.
we did with the when you had the mobile device and
Yeah.
showing that.
Oh,
But
and then it went away?
well, yeah, the timing was perfect. We thought it was part of the presentation. So if you don't mind just starting what you were doing just a second ago. And
No, it was very personable though, because we were
Okay.
able to see you.
Oh my gosh. I do that with my virtual students. It happens, and I can hear them saying, yeah, okay, yeah, Mrs. Malika, yep, I get it. Oh my gosh, yes. And then I go to hang up the call, and I'm like, I wasn't even sharing my screen. So the whole time they were just giving me the,
You're that good of an instructor.
No, they just wanted to go. They weren't listening. All right, so here's the assignment title. I put the directions in the assignment, just to recap what they need to do. So that's my second tip, is because a lot of times I see these assignments and people are not using this space here to recap maybe the steps. So it's just another place where you can recap the steps should they need to refer to it, somewhere else. Here I have each student getting a copy of this doc. So here I want to teach the 5-paragraph essay. So there's a lot going on here because I've set my headings up so that if they go to the outline tool, they can see the individual headlines here, and I've kind of shaped it as a research assignment. So that's one tip, is to put an exemplar in the doc that you want them to create and have them recreate it the way that they're supposed to with their original work. The tip I have for teaching classroom is to have a teacher set something up like this, have all the students join Classroom and open the doc, and the minute they do, show the teacher for the first time how Google Classroom relates to the folder in Drive. So have them go into the assignment and open the folder so that they can immediately see all the students' work, which is they're completely impressed with at that point. And then explain to them that there's two approaches. One is you don't want the students to know that you're looking at their doc. So in that case, you can just click once on one doc, and you should be able to see the preview tool. I don't know why I'm not seeing it.
You should be able to just right-click on the document there.
Oh, I just had to zoom out. Yeah, so I click on a doc, and you see it was because I was zoomed in too much. See the preview tool, open that up, and now I can see a still shot of what the student has done so far, but they don't know that I'm doing a quick view. So I'm scanning and scanning and scanning, and then I say, oh my gosh, this topic, no, this is not going to be okay. Let me get in touch with this student. I can open this up. Or if you want to take the positive approach, you can say, oh my gosh, that's so creative, and immediately hop right in that student's doc and say, this is a great title. So you have instant feedback for all the students instantly the minute they start working. The other piece of it is maybe you do want them all to see that you're in their doc. So I have teachers pull out the folder tab and literally open up every single doc. And while the students are working in that first few minutes of class, they see the teacher in the doc. So they see that the teacher has arrived, the teacher's opening up all the docs, the students don't know when the teacher's actually looking at theirs. So that's a huge motivator. What's nice for the teacher is that they can now save this whole tab set with something like Tab Cloud. And in this example, I have drawings open, but they can save the whole tab set. So if they close out of their Chrome and they go home and they want to then kick back and give everyone some quick feedback, they can go ahead and open up the tab set and all the students' work is there. Because a lot of times these assignments don't happen in 45 minutes. They happen over the span of a couple of weeks. So those are a couple of tips I just wanted to share with the trainers. Maybe you can share this with your teachers at the beginning of the year. It's easy, it's relevant, and it's really powerful. And then that's my classroom tip. And then I would like to pause for a moment because I want to transition into the Google Certified Trainer Program updates that were just launched today. In fact, I was checking this morning for them and didn't see them, and then we came to start the Hangout, and there they were. So I know we're speaking to Google Certified Trainers, but a lot of them, like myself, offer training to help people become certified educators, and we also offer training to help people become Google Certified Trainers. If you didn't know this, the program closed on August 17th, and it's been in a new program has been in the works for months. So now the new program can be found by simply going to google.com/edu. And am I still screen sharing, guys?
Yep.
Okay, just checking. So when you get there, now when you click on the link for training, there's a direct link for trainers. And when you get there, you can see that it's a new page, the new Google Certified Trainer Program. What you should know is that it hasn't changed so much. So you're not going to go into a head spin trying to see if you can keep up with the changes. However, what I think is most important is lots of people ask me, you know, who should be the person to become a Google Certified Trainer? And I really feel that every school, every district ideally should have at least one trainer, but every school building, if they had a Google Certified Trainer on staff, would be just at a huge advantage. So they have a whole overview on who's good to apply, who they suggest might that person be. But usually it's the tech coaches or the tech enthusiasts and leaders in a district or a school that want to become trainers. And then they list all the benefits. And here you can see that you get a digital badge like you do with the Educator Level 1 and 2. You get listed in the Google Educator Directory, which is really nice. When I first started out, I got a lot of training inquiries from schools in my 200-mile radius, so that was really nice. You have tons of resources, including people, other trainers that you get to network with and learn and share with. You get a demo domain, so you actually get your own training domain that you can train with. And you get early access to information about the latest updates and what's going on. To become a Google Certified Trainer, you just click on How Can I Join? I would recommend right now get started with your Level 1 and 2 certifications if you have not already done that, or if you want to recommend that to other people. They will not have to take those other trainer exams that we've had to take in the past. Those have gone away. The training exam itself for Certified Trainer is in the same place that you take your exam for Google Educator. So if you've taken your Google Educator Level 1 and 2, it's the same account, your web assessor account, where you would sign up for the $15 trainer exam that takes 90 minutes to complete. So you have 90 minutes to complete that exam. And if you think I'm talking fast, it's only because I know we're getting to the end of our show. But it looks like the film, what I've noticed already here is that the trainer video is optional. It points out here that it's not a requirement, and that's a change because that was a requirement before. However, if I wanted my application to kind of have a little bit of leverage, I would definitely include that. So when I work with potential trainers, I'm going to be encouraging them and helping them get that video prepared, because I think that's going to be a really important part of the application. And I feel like if you're going to be a Google trainer, you should be comfortable making a screencast with yourself and by screencasting it, something to share or to teach. And then you just apply. Once you become a Google Certified Trainer, your requirements to maintain that status would be to conduct and report on the average 1 a month, 12 training sessions per year, share with your community of trainers, and then there'll be an annual product like update assessment each year to maintain that status. So applications will be open October 12th. The deadline for this first new round of applicants is December 5th, and early Christmas present you'll be notified by December 21st.
Allison, so, those of us that have been kind of in a holding pattern waiting for this, do we have to apply for that October 12th, or do we have a little more time than that?
You won't have to do anything until the end of the year. Are you already a Google? I mean, if you're waiting to become a Google certified trainer?
No, I'm already a trainer. Because it's what, every 2 years or whatever you have to recertify.
Yeah.
So
If you're already a Google certified trainer, just wait for the announcements at the end of the year. It will they'll announce exactly what we need to do to maintain that status. So anyone who's been in a holding pattern as a trainer, wondering what they need to do to recertify, just stand still and keep doing your trainings. Everything will be fine. Just wait for the announcements. A little further in the fall.
excellent. Okay, that brings us right to the top of the hour. So thank you very much to all the guests that came in. And Allison, that stuff on Classroom, I don't teach anymore, but it's always kind of cool to see the kind of stuff there. Those are some really awesome tips.
Yeah.
Of course, Andrew, we love your product, so thank you very much for that. And Steven, the overview was really great. Steven also put in some responses to another question. I'm going to put those in the show notes. So if you want, you can check those. They're actually in there right now. And there's one other question on forms. I'm going to put that into the show notes as well. So if you need to, you can look at the show notes. The link will be attached to the YouTube video as well as the event. And if you have any other questions, go ahead and put something in the event listing comments there, and we'll answer them when we get. That's it, guys. Do you want to all say goodbye, and then we're off?
Yes.
Bye.
Can I? Bye.
Bye.
Students, yes. Steven says students can annotate, so I think everybody wants to know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Good.
All right.
Glad to hear it.
Thank you.